Hey, how you doing? This is Coach Karvell Bailey, back with week 2, module 2 of A Change in You, Character Development, Social Emotional Learning online course. And this week's course, no, I'm not going to be before you long this week. Again, I want to congratulate you, first and foremost, congratulate you for clicking that link one more time and sitting down and watching this video. Again, if nobody has told you this week, if you have not heard it, you are amazing. You are special. You have so much to offer the world, so much to offer the world. And we're going to help you get there. All right. We're still celebrating all those small wins, each and every day, all those small wins. So I'm excited to have you guys here today. And make sure, right? Make sure that you have a notebook for your journal, as well as, to take notes from it. And if you have not done the assignments from week 1, module 1, if you've not done the assignments for week 1, module 1, stop, pause this recording right now and go back and take care of that, right? Go back and do those assignments from module 1, right? We're talking about our power words and our journal entries, right? You want to do that because each week, each module, we're building on something special. All right. So today and this week's lesson, what we're talking about is actually 7 ways of dealing with anxiety. Again, we have to be in control of our emotions as much as we can be. The more that we're in control of our emotions, the better we'll feel, the more production we will get, meaning the more things that we can get done, the more positive things that we can get done. And it increases your ability to be able to help others out. All right. So we're going to get right into it. The 7 ways to deal with anxiety, especially during these times again. So make sure that you have a paper and pen. And I'll give you, a brief second to go get a paper and pen right now. As a matter of fact, what you can do, if you don't have a paper and pen, just pause this right now, and then go get a paper and pen and come back. All right. Got my good green juice. Got my good green juice. All right. So let's hop right into it. So, 7 ways of dealing with anxiety. All right. The first way is I want you to be proactive in handling your stress or your anxiety, right? Be proactive in it. Don't, so it's 2 ways that we can act, right? It's 2 ways that we can act. We can be proactive or we can be reactive. Does that make sense? So proactive means, again, we're doing things on the front end. Being reactive, meaning we're doing things on the back end. Does that make sense? So we want to be proactive in handling our stress or our anxiety. And so know your triggers, right? Each one of us has a certain trigger. And again, we will get into that next week or the following week, next module or the following module, we will get into, your behaviors based on just how you think and how you react based on the 4 personalities. We will get into that at a later time. That's going to be extremely fun for you. But you want to know your triggers. So one of my triggers for me is like if I speak to somebody and they don't acknowledge me, like for me, that's a trigger, right? Because I'm like, if I've taken my time to speak with you, to speak to you, acknowledge me, right? You can give me a salute, power fist, peace, head nod, you can speak, you might even, wave your hand at me, but at least acknowledge me, right? So that's kind of a trigger for me. And I have a few other, triggers, things that like really change my whole emotional state. And we also have great triggers also, right? We also have positive triggers, like one of my positive triggers is when someone like tells me thank you, or shows some type of appreciation for what I have done or shared with them. Now I don't just do things so people can say, oh, thank you, Mr. Bailey, thank you, Karvell, none of that. But it does feel good to feel appreciated. And so like that's one of my triggers that will, like, positive triggers that shift my emotions and my attitude. But one of those negative triggers, if I speak and someone doesn't really speak back, that can kind of get me feeling a certain type of way. And so when we know our triggers, right, we want to then be able to get out of that funk as quickly as possible. So once you are aware of your trigger and able to acknowledge your trigger, right, okay, I know that this is going to have me feeling a certain way. This happened. Yeah, because oftentimes when we do things or start to act a certain way and we're feeling down, again, and this is why you should be taking notes, because now when you understand what your triggers are, if something happens, you can go back and say, this is what changed my whole mindset or my whole emotion, my whole energy, and got me to act in a certain way. Now, once you know that trigger, do what you need to do to get out of that funk as quick as possible. There might be, you might have a favorite song, you might have a favorite movie, you might have a favorite person to talk to, you might have a favorite quote, scripture, affirmation, picture to look at, something funny, who knows, right? Something to lock your focus back in and to change that emotion, right? So the first thing is, let's be proactive in handling our stress and our anxiety. And now once we know that we have a trigger and we know that that trigger has been hit, let's get out in front of it and say, okay, let me now go to something that I know will immediately change my energy and my attitude. All right. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the second way, and again, we're talking about 7 ways of dealing with anxiety. The second way to deal with anxiety is to know that you are not helpless, right? You are not helpless. Do what you can do. Do what it is that you can do. If you're in class and you don't understand, say, problem number 2, and you've raised your hand and you're waiting on the teacher to come to you, well, can you do problems 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Like, what can you do in the meantime? Does that make sense? So, like, we're not helpless. If you need your parent to help you with something, if you need your sibling to help you with something, if you need your coach to help you with something and you just don't get it, well, understand that you have power, right? You have power. Again, you have so much to offer this world. So you have power. So you're not helpless, right? So do what you can do and focus on the positive emotion. Okay, I don't understand numbers 2, 3, or 4, but 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I do, right? Well, if you complete 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's going to make you feel better about yourself. And now you have the time, to wait, or you've used your time constructively, positively, while you're waiting. Because even, now, at the time of this recording, we're actually in the house and on quarantine. But you have to understand that it's so much that we can do, right? Focus on the positive emotions, right? We're not helpless in our homes, right? It's so much that we can do to improve ourselves and then improve others. All right. The third thing, the third way that you can deal with anxiety: act from logic. Act from logic, not emotion, right? All the time, oftentimes, when we react, that's emotion. When we react, right? Somebody step on our shoe. Oh, why you step on my shoe? That's emotion, right? And, we have to be able to control that emotion. But again, and as we spoke last week, that's why I said, if you have not done the assignment from last week, stop this and go back so that you understand what we're doing, because everything is a carryover. All right. So you want to act from logic, right? You want, and this is what we call being rational. So you want to act from logic, not emotion. So, like, use your common sense. And I had a boss when I first started working with the youth. in 1993, the day after I graduated high school, right? Day after I graduated high school, I started working with the youth, coaching as well as being a counselor mentor. Now, my boss told me at it was a 6-week program. In the middle of that program, my boss pulled me in and said, "Hey, Bailey, let me tell you something." He said, "What I've learned about you in this time is that you got more common sense than some of these adults." You know, 'cause I was 18 at the time. "You got more common sense than some of these adults that's 30 or 40. And he said, "Always remember this. Common sense is not common." Right? Common sense is not common. So meaning that, if a old saying, like, when I was younger, my grandmother was cooking something on the stove. She said, "Don't go by that stove. You're going to burn yourself." I'm trying to look in it to see what was in it, right? I think at that particular time, my granny used to, eat like pig's feet and, like boiled cow's tongues and, all types, she's from New Orleans. So, different, type of thing. And so I'm trying to see what it is. And, I try to reach up, but I burn my hand on the stove. Well, that wasn't common sense, right? I was thinking with my emotions, right? She told me I couldn't do it, so now I'm going to do it, right? That's my emotions coming out. And oftentimes our emotions are like weak traits, like it shows how strong we are or how weak we are, right? Depending on what type of emotions we show. And it's okay, right? Don't get me wrong. It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to show emotion, right? But you don't always want to be emotional, right? You don't always want to be in a state of being emotional, but it's okay to show your emotions. Don't keep it bottled in. Definitely don't keep it bottled in. Crying is good, right? You just don't want to cry all the time, right? Laughter is good, right? You just can't laugh at everything. And reflection is good, right? But you can't spend all the time thinking about the past. So each and every day, it's an old coach, named Jim Valvano that said, if you can cry, laugh, and reflect every day, you had a full day because you went through the whole range of emotions, right? It's okay to show your emotions, just don't be over emotional, right? So the third thing is act from logic. Act from logic using your common sense, not emotion, right? The fourth way of dealing with anxiety is change a negative what ifs into a positive what if, right? So not like, oh, well, what if, the bad happened? Well, what if the good thing happened? Right? Like, you may, your parent may tell you no 24 times, but that 25th time that they finally say yes, that's the thing that you really wanted. And that's the thing that mattered most. You don't even remember those 24 no's. So, like, focus on the good things that can happen for us instead of the bad things that can happen to us. Does that make sense? So, again, you got to shift the way that you think or shift the way that you see things. So instead of having those negative thoughts, let's start looking at the positive ones. All right. Focus on what can happen for you, especially during this time, right? Think of all the things that can happen for you, how much education you can get, how many books you can read, how much better in shape you can, get, how much, more time you can spend with your family, how much more time you can sit and reflect or write, or, you rap or play sports or, get in shape, whatever it may be. Think of all the things that can happen for you by the time this is over, as opposed to what can happen to you during this time. All right. The fifth way that you can better deal with anxiety, and this is a big one. Unfollow the panic. Unfollow the panic, right? Um, one of my greatest traits with Facebook is that unfollow button, right? I don't have to like stop being people's friends on social media. I just unfollow them, and again, we talked about this last week, like doom and gloom. get rid of the doom and gloom. You know, if you have to cut the news off, if you have to cut the radio off, if those things around you or those things that you're putting inside of you is all like negative, then again, what do you think is going to come out of you? Right? You're going to be sleeping about it, you know, at night. You know, I heard, you know, one of my mentors said this morning, you know, he actually told me this morning, he said, the things that you think about with your eyes open, you're going to also see them when you close your eyes. Does that make sense? So the things that you think about when your eyes is open are the things that you see when your eyes are closed. So you want to unfollow all the panic, right? You don't have to be watching all of the, you know, the negative news or all the, you know, the bang bang shoot 'em up. Listen to all the bang bang shoot 'em up, you know, songs that's talking about, you know, do drugs and, you know, degrade women and, you know, do all this violence. Like unfollow all that type of panic. Right. And it's a great quote that said, if you can't change your friends, change your friend. Because you should be the one, right? You should be that conduit. You should be the one to where you're able to empower and educate those around you. Now, you also need some people that can empower and educate you, right? But if you can't empower and educate those around you, or if you can't, you know, tell your friends like, hey, we're not going into that store and steal nothing, or, you know, we're not going to do those negative things, right? If you can't change your friends or even say, hey, like when we start doing some, you know, some morning affirmations, you know, hey, let's get on a group call. Let's, you know, play the game. And, you know, while we're playing the game, let's, you know, say something positive about each other, right? Everything don't always have to be signifying and talking about each other, but let's add value. Let's add value to each other. And so if you can't change your friends to start adding value to you, it's time to change who your friends are and get some new friends that can add value to you. Okay, so if you can't change your friends, you probably want to change your friends. Okay, because and here's a great affirmation, you know, that I use every morning. You know, I have a call every morning. We do affirmations, right? I use only the thoughts and habits that serve my purpose. Right? I use only the thoughts and habits that serve my purpose. So I'm only thinking things and doing things that are helpful to me. And once they can be helpful to me, now in turn, they can be helpful to others, or I can be helpful to others. Does that make sense? All right. The sixth way to better help deal with anxiety is this: learn to differentiate between possibility and probability. I got possibility down here twice, but learn the difference in possibility and probability. Okay. Um, so probability means like something again probably can happen. Possibility means it's possible, right? So let me give you an example. It's probable. It's probable that your parents play the lottery and win. But or play the lottery and win on the first time, right? That's probable. Well, that's possible. Let me correct, right? Your parents playing the lottery and winning the first time they play, or even playing the lottery and winning, right? And I'm not condoning playing the lottery or gambling, any of those things, right? But somebody that plays the lottery, right, and they win on their first time, that's possible. That's very possible that it can happen. But is it probable? Probably not, right? Probability is the percentages, right? The greater the percentage, the greater the probability. Now, regardless if the percentage is low, it's still possible because, you know, somebody can like that 1%, like that 1% can happen. And that's why a lot of times if you see different businesses or different companies or people that like offer guarantees, that's saying 100% of the time everything is going to work, right? So even with this course, if you take notes and follow the plan, it's possible that you will learn if you just look at like one module, out of the whole course, or if you listen to half of the modules each week or, each time, it's possible that you can still improve your production, become better, learn how to better deal with your emotions, know yourself better. But if you listen to everything and follow the plan and do all the work, it's very probable that you are going to blow your mind with the level that you've improved. Does that make sense? So understand the difference in possibility and probability. All right. What can happen and what will happen. So if you follow all the way through, it can, right, and will definitely happen. If you follow all the way through, it will definitely happen. If you don't follow all the way through, you can, it's kind of like rolling the dice. You got a small percentage or do you want a big percentage? And that's now when you understand, hey, certain things are possible, certain things are probable. If I do all this homework, it's, possible that I can get a good grade. But if I do all this homework and I pay attention in class and I come to school and I'm asking questions and attentive, the probability of me getting an A is real high. But if I just do my homework, right, it's possible that I can still pass the class. All right. Now, the last thing, the seventh and final thing is this. All right. Take advantage of this time. The seventh way to help deal with your anxiety, take advantage of this time to do something constructive. Do something positive, right? I use only the thoughts and habits that serve my purpose. But what have you been putting off? What have you been saying? Oh, if I had more time, I would do this. Oh, if I wasn't in a rush, I would do this. Oh, if I wasn't in school all day, I would do this. Oh, if I wasn't at work all day, I can do this. Like, what have you been putting off? Now is the time for you to take advantage of the time that we have to do something constructive. Do something constructive. And to construct is to build. What are you doing that's building your mind, your body, your soul, your energy, your production? What are you doing to increase that production? Take advantage of the time and do something constructive. All right. So again, let's recap. 7 ways of dealing with anxiety. Be proactive in handling stress or anxiety. Know your triggers and deal with them. Right? You are not helpless. Do what you can do. Focus on all the positive emotion, positive energy. Act from logic, not emotion. Use your common sense. Change your negative what ifs into a positive what if, right? Focus on the good things that can happen for you instead of what can happen to you. Unfollow the panic, right? If you can't change your friends, change your friends. I use only the thoughts and habits that serve my purpose. Turn all the doom and gloom out. We have no time for negative energy. No time. Regardless if we like the person or if we don't. We have no time for negative energy. Keep it moving. Learn to differentiate the difference, right? Learn the difference between what's possible and what's probable. What can and what will, right? What can and what will. That's a big difference. Take advantage of this time and do something constructive, right? What have you been putting off? What have you been putting off? This is a great time to take advantage and to do something constructive. All right. So 7 ways of being able to deal with anxiety and deal with stress. I definitely hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that this was valuable. I hope that you got something from it. Again, get those power words done, right? Focus on those power words. Look at those power words each and every day, 2-3 times a day, so that you can stay locked in, so that you can stay focused. All right. Also, what you want to do is you want to make sure um, that you're journaling, right? Again, um, it's a good thing to show emotion, even if you put it down on paper, right? You just don't want to be emotional all the time, right? You don't want to be going here, right? It's okay because we go here, right? But you want to be more on an even keel and then going up. So even when you even out, right, that might be showing some emotions, but let's put it on paper. Let's put our thoughts on paper so that we can then move forward. All right. So this has been module 2, week 2 of A Change in You, character development, social emotional online learning program. All right. So until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Oh, so the form that I actually just showed you will, be right under this video, or it'll be a link attached to the video, so that you can have it for your personal preference. If you can't print it out right now, at least you can have it, maybe even pull it up, from your phone, save it to your computer, so that can kind of be a cheat sheet of how to deal with this anxiety or any anxiety that you may have, at this particular time or at any other particular time. Also, make sure that you go in and you do your reflection sheet, right? Think of 3 things about this video that you learned, that we talked about, and that was beneficial for you. All right. So until next time, Coach Karvell Bailey, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.